Right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the VO Dojo Get to Know VO for March 2025. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California. And we're joined by 𝗨𝗃𝗵, who is Dojo. She'll be here Dojo member facilitating our calls today. And we are grateful and excited to welcome Matt Meyer from Vintage King here in Burbank, and our tech sensei Nick Santaseer, who's here for part of the for the event here. But we are gathered here today to talk about, I think, an ageless question, a time-tested question of voiceover artists everywhere choosing the right mic. How do you choose the right mic for your voice? So what we'd like to do today is lay out some questions about how you can be thinking about this question. Matt's brought some samples of different mics, and so we'll be kind of laying out a framework and then doing some exploration, and we'll also be have a couple of people run through the paces. Yeah, so we're planning to go to 12 Pacific time today. If we finish a little earlier, that'll be great. But and if you need to leave earlier, just, if you have a question, put it in the chat, and then you can listen to the recording, the last part of the recording. But yeah, and why don't we get started? So Matt, why don't you introduce, well, Nick, why don't you introduce yourself real quick? Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and then Matt, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right in and get started.
Sounds like a plan. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Santaseer. I'm the Dojo Tech Sensei. Those of you that do the Thursday Tech Talks first Thursday of every month, you've met me before. Hi. Nice to see you again if you are here. There's just a lot of you, so I'm not scrolling through to find out. I'm located in Jackson Heights, New York, just outside of Manhattan, and I started in theater tech over 20 years ago, and then I moved over into voiceover about 15 years ago, where more so in regular, hi, I'm talking in my booth on a microphone position, but then also having to do a lot of the technical stuff and dealing with the wonderful variety that is home studios in Manhattan. Once you figure that out, you can pretty much figure out anywhere. I think the only place that would give me a run for my money on setting up something would be like Hong Kong with dealing with noise.
Right.
I help people do custom booths. I figured out how to do that through Zoom, which is its own small adventure. And I do a lot of audiobook, e-learning, engineering, as well as some basic engineering classes as well, with various DAWs, more specifically Audacity and RX. I've worked with other programs. I'm just not as familiar, and I will quickly send you to somebody who's much more knowledgeable than I am.
Okay, I'm glad you
I'm here. I'm here if anybody needs any input.
Okay, good. All right. Well, and we'd love to hear where you're calling from, as well, if we put that in the chat. And Matt, why don't we take it away?
Yes, hello everybody. It's great to see so many people here. I love the dojo. I've done some classes. I've known Tish for a long time, so it's great to see everybody. Thanks for coming to this virtual event. And I'm a part of Vintage King. Has everybody seen my presenter stuff right now? Can y'all see that? Okay, cool. So that is me from Vintage King. We're a pro audio showroom. We're based our biggest showroom is Los Angeles, but we have showrooms in Nashville, and our HQ is in Detroit. So the reason I'm here is, like Tish said, we're asking that age-old question, hey, how do I choose the right mic for my voice? And somebody like Vintage King, huge thing about us is that you can use us as audio consultants. That's That's my job. I'm a audio consultant. I'm the assistant manager here in the LA showroom. So just know through this call, if you don't understand everything or you want to talk more about stuff, you have any issues down the road, even if you just have questions, or if you, of course, if you want to buy gear, just let me know. I'm a contact. I do voiceover work, similar to Nick. I've done a lot of stuff and different DAWs. I've done post-production with RX and stuff, done my own audiobooks, done audiobooks for other people, been doing voiceover for a bit. So I have a lot of different experience and I'm heavily on the gear side of things. So just use me as a resource is kind of the number one thing I want you all to know. And I'll have my contact info at the end. We'll have a Q&A, all this sort of thing. But that's a little bit about me. Went to school for drum set and have been doing audio ever since. Lots of voiceover stuff, did speech stuff in high school. So I've been doing that sort of thing for a long time and really kind of hone my audio. If it's not drum set or synth, it's voiceover stuff. So very, very passionate about that. So without further ado, pronouns are he, him. So if you can feel free to ask me a question during the presentation. I don't want to talk straight for 90 minutes. I have my water here, but feel free if you have a question, virtual hand raise or throw it in the chat. And we'll get stuff answered for you. So let me go ahead and get in my little view and we'll start doing stuff here. So I wanted to show our LA showroom for a minute. This is just a little bit of what we have in the showroom. You'll see a $385,000 SSL duality right in the middle there. We just had SSL install that. So cool thing about Vintage King is, we know kind of everything pro audio. I can consult somebody on a huge console like that, on outboard gear that you see in the upper left corner. That's stuff that the audio engineers use to make all the talent sound amazing. Some recordings can be a little bland when you first record them, as you might have heard recording your own voice. You're like, well, how do we make it sound so great? That gear is a huge part of that. And in the upper right, we have a huge monitor room as well. So if you have speakers at home or you want to get some headphones, the cool thing about the showroom is that everything is demoable. So you can actually come into the showroom, get hands-on and ears-on with everything. We have stuff for you to play, or you can bring in your own mixes. So it's the most unique audio showroom in the entire world. It's very, very awesome. And if you're in LA or Nashville, you can actually come into the showroom and demo. We've had people fly in from across the country. Other cool thing, don't worry if you're not local. We can also send gear. You can demo stuff. We'll talk more about that down the road. But that's just a little bit about Vintage King. We'll talk more, obviously. But let's get to talking about our voices. This is something that's really huge. And, I think it's really important for everybody to understand just how does your voice sound. The best advice I can give you is just to record yourself in different mediums. And the other thing I'll mention is that we can do stuff on any budget. So don't worry if you're like, hey, I don't have 300 grand to spend. We're not asking that. We can work with anybody at any budget. So that's the other thing I want to bring out there. That being said, recording your voice the most is definitely super important. Even if you just have an iPhone and use voice memos, just get familiar with your voice, hear it on a phone call, ask your friends how you sound. Do people do that a lot already? I would assume if we're in voiceover, we're kind of a little bit, very sensitive about our voices. So if you're doing that already, amazing. If not, it's a really cool thing to start doing. And if we're talking about voices, a lot of things that we talk about are using adjectives. So it's hard if you're on the phone with somebody doing this, but we have to do it at some point. So, is just getting to know your voice. Is your voice deep and resonant? Do you have that movie trailer thing going on, that thing? Is it more nasally? Is it kind of up here and you've got like a lot of mid-range in your voice, that sort of thing? Is it quote unquote normal sounding, whatever that means to anybody? I've had a lot of people come into the showroom and say, hey, my voice is higher pitched. I want more low end in my voice. I want something that accentuates that. So it can run the gamut of anything. Is your voice lush? That's another adjective I'd use. Anybody, just for a couple of seconds here, just throw out some other adjectives. How would you describe your own voice? Let's take like 2 or 3. You can just come off mute.
Deep.
Deep. Nice.
Yep. Gravelly.
Gravelly's good. Anybody else?
I don't have an adjective. I was told that it's young with a mature undertone, and I have no idea how to describe that.
Nice. Young with a mature undertone. That's very cool. That I can see working in a lot of different places. Thanks, Maria.
I've been told that my voice sounds a lot like Barry Manilow.
Nice. Can you sing, Evan?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, sweet. Well, there you go. Dual threat. That's awesome. So Barry Man,
I haven't sung in a while, but I do know how to sing.
that's awesome. So these are great, and as an audio consultant, this is stuff that I need to know, if I'm going to pick a mic for you, or, that if you're going to, try to go through the weeds, pick down maybe like a couple, these are all great things. So get in the practice of kind of how would you describe your voice? If somebody asks you that, what would you say? And hopefully after this presentation, you'll have a much better understanding of that and a little more comprehension. Let's go to the next one here. There's a synergy in your voice that happens. Does it sound natural? If you're recording this is stuff that you want to pay attention to. So let's say you recorded with your own equipment. Does it sound natural? That's ultimately what we're looking for in a voiceover, is for it to sound like you, for your personality to come through. That's huge. Another thing is, does it accentuate what you do? Are you doing animation? Does your personality come out through that? Are you doing, promo trailer work? Does your voice come through in that way when you're doing that sort of stuff? We want to pick a mic that accentuates what you do. If we're doing promos and trailers, I want something like this Sennheiser 416. I don't necessarily maybe want a USB mic because somebody who uses this mic is going to get that gig. So we want it to accentuate what you do and what you aspire to do. And maybe you have a couple different microphones. People have 2 to 3. Studios have, over 50. But a personal mic collection could easily have 2 or 3. Maybe one of the most important questions, is it clean and quiet? That's something that we'll talk about USB mics a little bit on, but clean and quiet is super important. If you have an agent or somebody going through and listening to demos and you have some noises in there, they're just going to go right through because there's 250 others that sound amazing. So it's a little intimidating, but it is reality. And so this is a great thing to call us about, your space. It all starts with your recording space. And honestly, it doesn't matter how you get it done. I was going to do this in my walk-in closet, but it's raining here in LA. And my wife was doing some yoga stuff with a large class, so I didn't want stuff to cut out. But I do stuff in my walk-in closet at home. And it's Los Angeles, Nick's in New York, like he said. We have to work with what we have. So I just have boxes and clothes in there, and you know what? It sounds amazing. It's a really great booth, so don't feel bad about what your environment is. If you have to work in a closet or you have a whisper room, great, but just make it work. Some points here, small is good. This room, even though we have some treatment, some panels that will absorb sound in the back, not an ideal room. You guys might hear some reverb coming through, just natural echo in the room. So the smaller you can do, the better. And you want to, on the bottom there left, minimize hard surfaces. So you might have already gone to the bathroom. You're like, hey, bathroom, that'll be great. Mirrors, tile, they are your enemies. You definitely want something soft. And like we can see Nick's booth, we've got some treatment there that will absorb sound and not reflect it back to you. So minimizing hard surfaces is good. Use what you have. Clothes, blankets, or you can, of course, buy some acoustic treatment. You don't have to go crazy with it. There's a big difference between soundproofing, which is not hearing any noise outside of it, and sound treatment. This I'm talking about more as sound treatment. We're not going to make it so the outside world can't hear us or we can't hear the outside world, but this is just the best steps to treat your space so you get nice direct sound into the microphone. The best way to do that is to clap. If you hear a lot of kind of echo in there, that means you want to put some more stuff in there to make your space more dense and get rid of the echo. You don't want it to be completely dead because that'll suck the life out of your voice. You still want to be able to hear your voice really well. So just a balance there is key. And again, use us, send us recordings and say, hey, here's A, B, and C. Which do you like better? And we can, kind of consult from there. FaceTime, see your space, give real-time consulting, which is great. And be comfortable is another huge thing. Kind of have everything in reach, especially water, but have your keyboard there, be able to see the waveform as you're recording it. The worst is to like do an audiobook, think you've been recording for 20 minutes and then not have anything when you go back. That's the worst. So we definitely want to avoid that. Any quick questions from that sort of space? Nope. Okay. I like to leave some awkward pauses. I'll always like pause for like 30 seconds. So we'll enjoy the silence, as it were. Oh, I see a hand raised from Mason. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Mason?
It is, yes. I was going
Hey,
to
Mason.
ask, how does the interface coalesce with the microphone? Does that matter?
That does matter. We'll get to that. Kelsey, would you maybe want to write that down so we can get that at the end? I'll have a nice Q&A. And honestly, we might do that on like we might like focus on interfaces on another presentation down the road. We'll talk about that, but I will definitely touch on interfaces for you, Mason. Huge question. And we'll actually get to that a little bit with the USB mic when we talk about that too.
And
Great question.
I guess a question in the context of what we're talking about here is, does an interface affect, like would a different voice need a different interface? Would that impact anything? I guess could be a question in the context of what we're talking about today.
Yes. Yeah. Audio interfaces will definitely impact your voice a ton. I'll still answer that at the end and kind of go more in depth because I'm sure everybody wants to know about that. And we have tons of audio interfaces. We sell everything out there. So yes, it definitely does. The biggest thing that it does is the conversion, like taking your sound, converting it to analog sound to digital so the interface in the computer can read it. And then it actually does another thing, digital to analog conversion, taking the ones and zeros that are your voice and bringing it back to the analog realm so I can hear it in headphones or through speakers. Interfaces like Universal Audio will have mic pre-emulations and mic emulations with your voice. So definitely a ton that can affect that, but I'll definitely touch on that down the road too in the Q&A. Sweet. Okay, so the mic. Did you have something? No, okay. The mic. Why is this so important? I'm focusing on this first. You guys also might have gotten the question or asked yourself this, what's the most important thing? Should I spend money on an audio interface? People said that's super important. Should I spend money on a microphone? That's really important. Should I spend money on speakers or headphones? Like, can I just use my phone? The microphone is the most important part of the signal chain. Why is that? It's the shortest distance from me to something else. So if I'm speaking into the microphone, this is the first thing that's capturing my voice. So that is the window into your personality. It's the window into your soul. It is what talent agents and your audience hears first. The microphone is going to influence everything. And it's going to capture our voice. It's kind of the most important tool. So definitely huge. And we're just going to talk about a couple quick aspects of the mic. I want to make sure, as Vintage King, I want to make sure we understand like what the microphone does. So that way you all have just a more understanding of the inner workings. And as we talk more about stuff, this will make sense as we talk about different microphones. So talking about the microphone types, the sonic signature of each microphone, maybe some polar patterns, and frequency response. I'm not going to talk about so much, but just anyway, a couple characteristics that we want to be familiar with anyway. All right, so I'm going to play this video.
How do microphones work? Though they have their differences and different uses, they are all transducers, converting sound waves to an electrical signal. The dynamic microphone is the most common used. These work using electromagnetic induction. Sound waves hit a thin diaphragm which causes it to move. This diaphragm is attached to a coil surrounded by a magnet. This magnet creates a magnetic field around the coil. The sound waves hitting the diaphragm are moving the coil, and the coil's movement past the magnet creates an electrical current. This electrical current is your sound signal. Loudspeakers work in reverse. Here the incoming sound signal moves the coil, which in turn moves the diaphragm, creating sound waves. Want to learn more? Subscribe or check the sources in the description below.
Okay, sweet. That was just the quickest example I could get of kind of succinctly saying what a microphone does. So I'm not trying to pander or anything, but it's just the easiest way to say that there is a moving part in a microphone, the diaphragm. That's a dynamic mic, so something like the Shure SM7 would use that. Basically what happens is a sound wave hits the diaphragm or that moving coil we saw, that vibrates. That sound, that energy is basically translated into electricity, and then that's how a microphone works. It takes your voice and turns it into electricity, so that way it can move it onto the next part of the signal chain, and we can hear it back. I don't know how the heck people came up with that, but it is amazing, and I love that. So that's how that sort of thing works. It just takes your voice, converts it to electricity. That's the deal. And any of you who've worked on microphones, you might have asked yourself, has anybody had to do the phantom power thing where like somebody's like, oh, you gotta use phantom power, get an interface with phantom power. I see some head shaking.
Yeah.
Neumann actually.
Why is this not working? Oh,
Why
I
is
have
this
to
not?
turn up the phantom
Yeah,
power.
why do I sound so terrible? Micah, go ahead.
Oh, I was raising my hand to say yes. I use phantom power for my AT4033 constantly.
Nice. The mic sounds good, by the way.
Thank you. I've had it for over 25 years.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. The sound of the mic is super important. So that's basically how it's made. And the phantom power thing, Neumann actually came up with. Neumann is I would say the pinnacle of microphones. So if you have that Neumann badge in your mic, it's awesome. They came up with phantom power. The reason they had to do this, we saw that video just a minute ago. Now we have a different picture right here. And on the left, you see this gold circle with a wire attached to it. We saw the moving coil thing. This is the diaphragm of a condenser microphone, a Neumann in particular. That gold circle is called the diaphragm. It's the little circle. It's a thin gold sputtered mylar attached to this solid back plate. So if I talk into the microphone, imagine that gold circle moving just a little bit. That diaphragm, by the way, is thinner than a human hair. That's how delicate these microphones are. So when you're paying, $1,000, $3,000 for a voiceover microphone, that's why you're paying, is for this sort of expertise and technology and handmade just care that goes into it. So the sound hits the diaphragm, distance between the plates change. That electrical charge changes the rhythm into sound waves. And then you'll see that wire kind of leading from it. That's how the sound is converted into an electrical signal. And the reason that there's phantom power there is that plate doesn't have hardly any charge in there. So Neumann came up with a way to basically boost that charge so we could turn it into a usable signal. Genius. So phantom power. Thanks, Neumann. On the right, you'll see a cheap little capsule that's made out of plastic. That's like if you see an Amazon microphone, that's what you're getting. If you're paying like $30 for a USB mic, which by the way, totally fine, do it. If it sounds good, use it. If that's all you can do, the best thing is to like practice. So that's the other thing I want to really emphasize. It's great if you have the change to, shell it on a mic, but if not, use what you got. Nothing wrong with it, but I'm just letting you all know the difference. So that way we always come up with, well, geez, why would I spend, $3,000 on something when I can just spend, $50 on it? This is part of that reason. All right. Microphone type comparison. These are some questions I'm going to ask really quick. Should we do a small diaphragm microphone or a large diaphragm microphone? What's best for voiceover? Should it be dynamic? Should it be condenser? What about USB mics? So this, just in general, I would choose a large diaphragm over a small diaphragm microphone. That small diaphragm that you see on the right side, that's a little pencil condenser, we call it. It's probably about the size of a quarter, the diaphragm we see on there. The thing with that is that it's just not going to be large enough to capture the full spectrum of your voice. Those are usually used for like overhead microphones on a drum set. They'll kind of spot record and pick up some of the higher frequencies. To pick up the range, the full range of your voice, which is what you want. You kind of want to use everything. You want the larger diaphragm like that 𝗬87 I have on the left side there. So a larger mic over a small mic. And a condenser if you can. And don't feel bad if you don't know, because it's totally fine. But does anybody want to throw out why you'd use a condenser microphone over a dynamic? Does anybody know or want to take a guess?
Condenser microphones give you more, this is what I've been taught, is that it gives a more accurate representation of your true voice.
That's right. Yep.
My SM7B actually conditions and shapes the sound wave, and I actually sound lower on my SM7B than I do on my AT4033.
That's awesome. Thanks, Micah. That's pretty much the deal. Condensers pick up, when you think of one word, think of detail. That's what condenser microphones pick up. And in voiceover, usually we want the most detail. Again, it depends. Micah, with your SM7, or anybody else that has the SM7, you might use that in a point where like maybe you're out in an open area and you want to have a more tight focus sound, or you want to have more kind of just process sound for like a content creation or podcast. That's why you'd use something like that. That's a dynamic microphone. Dynamic microphones like that's a Shure SM58 on the right. You guys will see that all the time if you go to shows or you go to a live performance or you go to a concert, even in a large arena. That is a handheld microphone that's made for live vocals. So it's made to reject the rest of the band when the singer's singing and only get what's in front of it. And its big thing is that it rejects feedback. We don't have to worry about feedback so much on voiceover unless you put your headphones on top of your microphone when you take them off. Don't do that. You'll get tons of feedback. But we want condensers because it's all detailed. They have the widest frequency response. Our hearing is about, 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. They usually cover that full spectrum. They also have a higher output, more sound, and a lower noise than dynamics. So especially if you're doing super quiet things, you definitely want something that's nice and quiet. So your noise floor, basically how quiet your recording is super low. That's always what you want. That way, if you have an engineer that's going to compress your voice, do stuff with it after, it can still sound clean and it's not going to sound all jumbled or distorted or whatnot. And actually, like Micah already brought up, dynamic microphones tend to roll off the high end. That's due to, we saw that coil that was moving in that dynamic microphone. It's a weighty coil compared to that thin little gold diaphragm. So that weight inherently is going to roll off some high end. It's going to take some of the detail out of there, which again, could be good or bad. The main point I want to bring to all of this, and the reason that Vintage King, that I'm doing this, is that the biggest thing y'all can do to help yourself is to try the microphone on your voice. That's super important. There's no template matching. I can't say, hey, you've got this voice, so you're going to sound great on this mic. I can give an approximation, but you might sound better on another one. So that's why I love the booth. We'll talk more about that down the road, but trying and hearing your voice on these different microphones is key. What about USB mics? USB mics are cool. I mean, they're easy to use, whatever. I've used them for some presentations and stuff. They do have some drawbacks, but you know what? I just literally a week ago met many actors that use them. Why do they use them? Talent agencies provide them. The head of the talent agency goes, what's cheap? What can we get a good sound with? What's decent? What can we not spend a ton of money on? And they say, let's send them a USB mic. I don't get it, but I mean, you know, there are some pros to it. It's ease of use and portability. Would you, if you're not familiar with audio, you don't want to deal with a microphone and a stand and getting a great room and all this stuff. If you can go somewhere and record and just plug that thing to USB and start using it, that's awesome. Again, that's kind of the biggest thing, is just get your stuff out there, get practicing, that sort of thing. There's no signal chain. You don't have a microphone. You don't have a preamp to worry about. You don't have, how am I going to get the sound from this audio interface? There's a lot less to worry about. So we totally get it. The con, and this goes to the audio interface question earlier, is that it's relying on your computer to do the audio conversion. So it's going to be an okay sound, might be serviceable, might even be decent, but you're going to get a much better, cleaner, clearer, pristine sound from an audio interface that does audio conversion, that takes the analog sound that I am giving the microphone, converts it to digital, and then takes the digital and converts it back to analog. That's all super important. USB mics, again, we saw the Neumann, that was just the inside of the capsule. We saw gold, we saw brass in there. USB mics are cheap, they can be noisy, so those are some cons. But I do have a great recommendation for a USB mic. So if you're on this call and you're like, man, I want to get a USB mic and I don't want to maybe spend, a ton of money on something, and I want an all-in-one. I don't want to have a bunch of different flowing parts. This is a great option, and I'm actually going to switch my sound over to this USB mic. This is the 𝗨𝗃 from 𝗏𝗃, and it's a pretty cool microphone. I'm just kind of holding it up so you all can see it in my window. This is a great solution for voiceover. It has a tripod right with it, a windscreen built in, and it has a great capsule. And this company, 𝗏𝗃, they specialize in analog to digital and digital to analog conversion. So the microphone here, actually I have my headphones plugged into it so I can hear myself. It's a headphone amp, it's an audio interface, it's a microphone preamp, it's a microphone, and it has an analog compressor built in. So if you wanted to get a more radio ready sound, if you're doing stuff yourself and releasing it yourself, you just press a button and you've got analog compression on there. So this is a really cool solution. It's $349. So compared to like a $1,000 microphone, it's a great all-in-one solution. It still won't break the bank, but it sounds really great. It's plug and play. Yeah, you don't need to do anything with it. I could take this and plug it right in my iPhone and use voice memos, record something and send it right off. It's super easy. It is a cardioid condenser, so it's going to get much more detail in the environment. And it's got an analog compressor, like I said. That is this center button. So if I just press this, you're going to see the color change on the mic. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. You'll also have heard the background noise go up. So here's no compression on the mic. Here's compression level 1. You might just hear it sound more focused and direct. Compression level 2. And compression level 3. So it's really interesting that there's an analog compressor built into it. It's very travel friendly. It has this. This is the case for it. So it's just this can fit in your glove box, super easy. It's got cables, the pop filter, the travel case, and a tripod. Works with iOS, Mac, and Windows. So if you're going to do a USB mic, I would definitely recommend the 𝗏𝗃 one on here. So that's a great one to go with. I can take some questions about that now, or we can parking lot anything till the end, but I just wanted you all to kind of hear this for a minute. It's a really cool option for voiceover. We're going to be comparing 3 industry standard mics, the U87, which I have to the right of me, the TLM103 to my left, and then either the SM7dB or the 416. So we're going to talk about the sound signature, the features, and use cases here. Here's the U87. If you all can hear, it's a really nice detailed mic. Use cases for this: animation, narration, pretty much everything. Also, talking about the detail of condenser mics, I'm going to be silent for a second. There's a monitor demo going on. This one, low frequencies, captures really well, so it's nice and rich. And I'll just point out while I'm talking into microphones, you'll notice some large audio differences. If I'm back here, it's getting me and the room, the closer I get to the microphone, the more direct the sound. And of course, if I want to get really close, now I'm really close to it and you're getting more boom and proximity. So know how to work the microphone as well. That's huge. If there's room noise and I don't want to pick it up, I'll want to record at a lower gain and be closer to the microphone. And if I want like more, if my room sounds really good and I want the mic to do its best, I'll turn the gain up and record a little bit farther away, usually about thumb and pinky away. So that's just a great tip to know in general. The best sound from your mic, if you can't turn it up really loud, get a little closer to it and it'll be more direct inherently. Can you all hear that difference through Zoom? Might be hard. Okay, cool. And 𝗏𝗄𝗆, this is really nice and clean and clear. This also a studio workhorse. When we're at Vintage King selling to musicians, people mic everything with this. Drums, snare, they'll make guitar cabinets with it. So having this is just an amazing microphone. And you'll see that switch. If you look at the microphone on the presentation, there's that tiny little switch under the little polar pattern. You can flick that different ways and you get different polar patterns. So as you record, you might want different polar patterns for different use cases. Just know that this can do that. It also has a little pad roll off. So if there's rumbling, like there's AC going on, you can engage something called the pad on the mic and it'll basically negate that rumble. Really great for like apartments, things like that. The TLM-103 is really cool. This one, the use case, everything. Let me just get this a little closer. Here you can see the 103. Let me change this. So TLM-103, you can use this for everything. It's just a super transparent mic. Disney uses these with Grace preamps. So that's how they record a lot of their animation. The TLM in this microphone stands for transformerless. That means it has kind of no extra parts on it. So it's literally one of the quietest microphones ever made. If you're doing audiobooks, especially, this is great. It's just super, super quiet. And it's very pure. It's transparent. It gives nothing extra. It will not color your voice. So this will just give you what your voice is. It does have cool proximity effect though. So if I go ahead and get closer to it, you can definitely hear more low end in it now. And if I'm farther away, it's going to be more transparent for my voice. It's a great way to go. And it takes EQ and compression well. So this is another great voiceover mic because if you're the talent and you're just submitting stuff where it's like, hey, just provide us the cleanest, purest recording possible. We'll do all the extra stuff in post. This thing takes EQ and compression super well. The other microphones we've talked about do as well, but this one in particular, I kind of use the adjective unflattering on it, which Tish and I were joking the other day. We were like, that doesn't really sound that great, but that's what this mic is. It's just, you might talk into it and be like, ugh, this doesn't do anything for me. But it's really great if you're a movie trailer person. I heard somebody on this the other day and it was really fantastic. So this one, quiet, pure, takes EQ and compression well, blank canvas. So if you have like a great personality and you're like, hey, I don't want anything to change my voice, I just want it to be transparent, this is the one. It's really awesome. This, just to give you guys a little graph of stuff, this is one of the nerdiest things I'll do today. And just for a second, this is just literally showing you the noise floor of these microphones. You can see the TLM is like the quietest on here. It's 7 decibels, which is super quiet. Most microphones, like the 87 on the left there, are about 12 decibels of noise. And all signal to noise ratio is, it sounds really fancy. Engineers like that term. It just means how much noise does the gear make. So in this case, without even me talking into it, the microphone's going to make 7 decibels of noise. That's super quiet. I can't even whisper that quiet, I don't think. And with most audiobooks wanting like a minus 60 decibel noise floor, just showing you that any of these microphones would do the job. You'll notice I have a black graph on the right. That's this 𝗀𝗏𝗃 251. That's a tube microphone. So again, we're talking about budget. You don't have to spend on a $12,000 tube microphone. That's what this 𝗀𝗏𝗃 251 is. The tube inherently makes noise. There's harmonics in there. They put a tube in there which rolls off high end and really colors your voice. So it's fantastic for singers and everything. You don't really want that for voiceover. Too much noise in that one. And it'll color your voice, which is what we don't want. The Shure SM7DB, I'm not going to go over it a ton, but Micah and I touched on it already. This is the microphone we were talking about. And this one, you'll notice the DB in it. It basically has all the technology in it needed. You used to have to put an extra piece of equipment in the chain so it could make the gain usable, and you could actually hear a decent level of signal through it. It doesn't need that anymore. It has that technology built into it. This one, it's famed for podcasting. If you watch a podcast on the internet or you see a content creator, 90% of the time they're probably using this. It's very warm and smooth. It has a built-in preamp with it. So that's just the biggest thing I can say about this mic. Super warm and smooth. It's very focused. Like we said earlier, it'll definitely change your sound, compress it a little bit, and it's great for less than ideal recording environments. And it's got great price to performance. It's got a built-in preamp, the Cloud Lifter tech. That's what that technology is built into it.
Oh, he said his computer died. How do we start figuring out which one is best for the work that we're doing? Nick, maybe while we're waiting for Matt, how do you approach that? What were the questions that you would ask somebody?
First off, what is your space? What did you do to it? How did you treat it? What do your walls share with? For example, I used to be in a closet booth when I first moved into this apartment. I shared a wall with a bathroom. That involves its own complications now to deal with. Then I would ask, what microphone are you using? Where are you using it? For example, are you using it hung above or using it placed on the desk below? These are going to offer other challenges. USB, XLR. Again, now we're going to have more and more things plugged in. I'm a big fan of not having extra things plugged in. So after, I've just got the mic into the interface, into the computer. I don't want a preamp. I don't want anything else on there because it just starts to gum up the works. The more things you plug in, the more possibility for problems there are. And then from there, it's how's your mic technique? Where are you placed? What are you using? How do you sit? What are you wearing? All this type of stuff that goes and creates variables of what could be picked up with your sound. I mean, I am now a very big, I bought an entire box of these lovely workout type shirts because they are totally silent.
Mm.
And so I can pop in and out of my booth any day of the week.
Mhm.
And then also the number one question I ask people, everybody, is do you rent or own your home? Because that'll also create what you can and cannot do with your space.
Mm. And then how does that, so that's the first, how would that then inform which microphone?
Microphone, now we start to enter into what is your voice type, as Matt was talking about. And my big way of pitching mics to people is find somebody in the business who's successful that sounds like you and ask them what they use. Everybody in the voiceover community is very open and very wonderful about talking about their tech and their stuff. If it's, for example, the U87, which $3,500, guys. If you've got it and you can afford it and you're working that level, great. You can't, we're going to start working backwards in their timeline of what did they use before that? Can you afford that? If not, go back even further. Now you've also got a lovely little list of microphones that you can start to build your business towards and work with that. Prime example, my microphone right here, I've got a Rode NT1000. I worked with Abacus in Manhattan. My wife was working with them before me. And so he knew both her and my voice patterns. And he sounds very similar to I do, Bruce, who runs the company. So he was like, this is my workhorse. And guess what? It'll work for both of you more than likely. And it does. So we were very happy. Matt is coming back.
Woo! Oh,
Well, that we were so absorbed, we were so in it, and then you're gone. But Nick was just we were just kind of starting to explore how do you take this information and then go to what are the questions that we ask about how do we find which mic is right for us. So
yes. And let's do that actually, now that I've done the nice 5-minute disappear on everybody here. Really quick thing, like I've said all meeting, talent first. This is 𝗫𝗫cy Cartwright's setup. Does anybody know who 𝗫𝗫cy Cartwright is? Anybody? I see a lot of shaking heads. Everybody's like, yeah, we know who 𝗫𝗫cy Cartwright is. Voice of Bart on The Simpsons. So she's just rocking a SM7DB there, and I believe a Focusrite Scarlett. So you'll see just her setup here. This is a screenshot from one of her TikToks, but SM7DB and a Scarlett. You can't see the Scarlett in there, but trust me, she has it. And that's just, you know, it's nationally syndicated television. If it's good for that, it's good for anybody. And just like any drummers that I love, they could play on my crappy drum kit that I had in 8th grade and make it sound amazing. So just remember that talent first, practice, practice, get your script reading and characters and all that sort of stuff. That's always priority number one over gear. Let us save you a ton of time so you can prioritize voiceover. That's just a big thing. Cool. We'll come back to Hugh. Hugh can wait. Hugh's good.
What mic did you say she was using?
She is using that SM. She's technically, if you want to get technical, in that video, she's using an SM7B is the mic she's using. It's the one that I showed a little earlier with kind of that barrel shape. That's a new version of it called the SM7DB. That's the one I recommend getting if you're looking at that mic or you want to try it. That has technology built in, so you can just turn up the gain and not have to use another piece of equipment, which you used to.
Got it. Thank you.
Wait, you got it. Thank you. Nice. Now that I'm all back in my area here, I'm going back to my 416, Mr. 416. All right. So let's do a consult. I wanted to do this. Tish brought up this is your master sensei's idea. So this is a great idea, and I love this thing. We're going to do like a little virtual consult. So I want somebody who hasn't participated yet, if we could. And I'm just going to kind of do a little consult here. We're going to put this stuff into action. Some questions I might ask you. I ask this if somebody will want to stay on the phone with me. I ask all these questions. Sometimes we have people that need to do sessions and need to run, but if I got time, I'm going to ask people, hey, what kind of work do you do? How would you describe your voice?
Let's choose someone and you can walk them through.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
Who would like to?
who would like to participate that we haven't heard from yet? Is anyone looking
Greg.
for the mic? Greg, okay, there we go. And then we'll find another voice that's opposite so we can explore.
Come on,
Okay.
Greg.
Can you hear me okay, Matt?
I can hear you just fine. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Nice.
So,
And Greg, I'm just gonna, let's say we're on the call right now. Greg, where are you calling from, Greg? Where are you talking to me from there?
I am from Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, AZ, sweet. Oh, that's the hottest. That's like the surface of the sun in the summer. That's the hottest I've ever been.
That's what
But I
they
love
say.
it. That's awesome. And Greg, what kind of work do you do in voiceover here?
I kind of I dabble in a little bit of everything, but I think my wheelhouse is commercials, as well as maybe corporate explainers and product explainers, things like that.
Oh, sweet. Okay, nice. Are you doing, when you do that sort of stuff, are you doing the recording and the kind of, do you have to turn stuff in yourself? Are you relying on somebody else to kind of do all the polishing? Tell me a little bit about that.
No, I do everything. In most cases, I do everything, from doing obviously the recording, but also doing the editing and things like that, and trying to clean up my voice the best that I can. I have a module that I got from 𝗏𝗏 that I kind of apply to most of the stuff that I record, that cleans it up and adds the necessary nuances to it to make it sound presentable.
Nice. And I can hear your voice pretty clearly, so you're definitely talking to me on a microphone here, but how would you describe your voice, Greg?
I would describe my voice as low, kind of commanding, depending on how I use it. But yeah, low, commanding. It can be inviting depending on what I'm doing. So that's kind of where my voice is, in my wheelhouse anyway.
Cool. And I'm going to ask one outside person, one other person, give me an outside adjective, something we haven't used yet to describe Greg's voice.
Be nice.
Warm.
Warm. I agree. I think warm and inviting, Greg. You've got the agreement on that.
Okay, very good.
That's awesome. And that kind of comes to, what comments have you received on your voice? Would you say, have you gotten warm and inviting before?
Yeah, I have. I've gotten warm and inviting. I'm doing, in fact, I'm getting ready to do another one for Formlabs 3D printers. I'm doing all of their videos and narrating those. And one of the things they said was, you take a subject that is absolutely boring and allow the people to stay connected, paying attention to what it is. So somebody mentioned that their
Awesome.
room is on the opposite wall of a bathroom, and that's mine. And right now, I don't know if you heard it, but somebody's in the bathroom right now. So just ignore that.
Nice. No, when we can't hear it, thankfully, which is great. That sounds great. And I was going to ask you too, what do you have any like unique challenges in either your space or your voice that you're working with? You mentioned the bathroom thing, so obviously you need something that kind of captures your voice there, but tell me about anything else that's kind of going on or anything.
You know, I kind of have been working with it. I kind of built the booth myself, obviously, because it's next to a bathroom. And I've gone through some gyrations of working with the sound deadening and things like that, and got some panels and things like that. So as voiceover artists, we don't know exactly what it is that we need to clean up. Right now, I've been told that everything sounds great in my booth, but I don't know. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. That's why I came to this this meeting, because I want to make sure if you hear something where you go, hey, you know what? I'm hearing a little bit of blah or this or whatever. So that could make the difference. So
Awesome. And that's something that's huge. And at this point, you know, if Greg and I were actually on the call, I'd have him, you know, I'd say, you know, Greg, definitely send me some recordings of what you've done, or maybe a new one, like if you changed stuff in your setup. I'd have you send me the most current recording, and that way I could just hear that, you know, either on the call or on our own time. We'd probably pick the call back up again, but I definitely take what you send and definitely listen for all that. You know, we'd be listening for the noise floor, if there's any extraneous noise. And I've luckily done this enough where I know what a direct voice should sound like. So
right.
I know what that should be. And if you all aren't super familiar with that, I would encourage you to record with maybe the microphone like 12 inches away from you, and then record with it like 6 inches away from you, and then maybe just do that in the kitchen or something, and then go to your spot. And if you play those back, you'll definitely hear the differences. So Greg, I can tell you've probably done that a little bit already. Your
Yeah.
booth sounds really good just from what we're hearing on the call. But that's what I would do when I listen to recordings. So I know your unique challenges, which is great. And then if you're calling looking for a microphone, you know, I'd be asking you, hey, you know, when I would ask what your budget is first. That's always, for me, that's something that we're very sensitive of. Again, we work with anybody in any budget. So, Greg, let's pretend you're looking for a mic here. Just throw out a number. Let me know what your budget is here, man.
Okay. Well, let's, my budget's $500.
$500, cool. I would put you, and it's a microphone we've already talked about, but I would put you, I would say, hey, let's maybe have you demo the SM7DB, just because that's right at the top of your budget.
Right.
But it's kind of going to do everything. If you've got the bathroom kind of right there, it's going to make sure that it just focuses on you, not getting any other sound or anything from that. Dynamic would probably sound great on your voice too. It just make it sound better, if anything. Getting even more compression on your voice is a great way to go. And then I'd always ask too, and this is a real question, what microphone are you using right now when you're talking to us?
I am using a TL11-103.
Nice. And that's a great, can you talk just a little bit more on that? Just give us a little 103, a little 103.
Yeah, so I started out with the Shure 7, the one that is before the one that you recommend. And I had a cloud lifter on it, and it was, I don't know, I just felt like I was always trying to talk louder in order to compensate for that, and it could have been my gain structure or whatever. But and then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go ahead and invest in a 103 and a MT48, and have the stuff that is going to, I won't have to change this out and build anymore for hopefully a while. So now the only issues I have is just me. If my booth is right, if my equipment is right, then now I just need to work on me. So I don't have to use that as an excuse. Oh, well, I didn't get the job because I'm using cheap mic. No, that's not the issue. So
That's awesome.
that's kind
And
of
that's something, that's a great stage to be in, when it's just like focusing on you and you don't have those other external factors. So that's definitely a great place to be. And if we were doing this as a call where you're going to buy something, the other question I'd ask you is, when do you need this by? Are you doing a gig tomorrow? Do I need to overnight something? What's going on? So you guys just kind of let us know what's up, and we will do whatever we need to make stuff work. So we have that happen here in LA all the time. Hey, when's your session? Oh, it's tomorrow at 9. Okay, well, let's get you something today. If let's say you're not in the store, we can always do like a demo. Like Greg, in this case, if I had like another microphone I was going to throw it at you, I might say, hey, you know what, Greg, if you're not around one of our showrooms where you can demo, let's get 2 microphones. This happens. So, you can honestly buy 2. With Vintage King, we have a 30-day return policy. So with Greg being in Phoenix, he might not want to book a flight to LA to come and check out some mics. I'd say, man, let me send you 2. You do pay for them, so that's something to know. But the nice thing is it's a full 30-day return policy. The only thing you pay for is the return shipping. So think of this as a way to test out amazing microphones for 30 days in your own studio by paying like $20. That's a pretty amazing offer, especially for you to have the mic on your voice. So the great thing about calls like this is that I can hear Greg. If we're on the phone, I kind of hear him through the phone. But if he's done professional recordings or some stuff at home, I can hear all of those. And again, just kind of use the industry knowledge and experience to kind of make great recommendations. And, if this was going longer, I want to kind of cut it here so that way I get some more people to consult with.
Sure.
We hear some more stuff, but Greg and I would have a nice long conversation about interfaces. He already has an MT48, but we want to get to know the whole signal chain and issues that you're having. So just know it's kind of, we put all the work on ourselves, so you don't have to scour forums and YouTube and read stuff for hours. And again, we want you all to focus on being the best voiceover talent that you can be and not having all these extraneous things to worry about. And put it on the shoulders of somebody who's been through that. And, using those resources, we can just make things super easy and fast. So, Greg, thank you, man. I wanted to thank you for just hopping off and or hopping on and saying a few words and taking this consult.
Sure.
Thanks so much. And your booth does sound great. I'll have my contact info, and it's right there. But feel free for anybody, like, take my contact info down, hit me up directly.
Okay.
If you actually want to do, some consults, you have some extra questions for me, feel free to email, call, or text. I'm very open. So,
Very
Greg,
good.
thanks so much. That's awesome.
Thanks, Matt.
Maybe we can have a voice that's different than Greg's, and maybe someone who's in the process of buying a new or upgrading a microphone.
Emily Folger.
Yeah.
Hello, Emily.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
That's definitely
Nice.
a different sound. That's good.
That's awesome.
A little bit of a higher tone,
Sounds very natural, though. What are you talking to us on right now, Emily?
So I am on a Rode NT1 into a Scarlett 2i2.
There you go. That's a great vocal chain. Again, that just lets your sound come through, and you can get gigs and do all sorts of stuff with that. Nobody is going to say anything bad about your Scarlett. If they do, they probably don't know too much of what's going on, because I know tons of talent in LA that are booking amazing jobs that have Scarletts. So that's kind of a classic, whether you have their NT1 and Scarlett 2i2. How long have you had that?
I have had it for 2 or 3 years. It died on me, actually. My previous one died, and then Rode sent me a new one because it was still under warranty.
Oh,
so I've
sweet.
been on the Rode NT1 for about 3 years now.
That's awesome. And same thing. How would you describe your voice, Emily?
I would say pretty smooth, definitely higher tone. I tend towards that. Breathy is what I run into a lot. Not necessarily like plosives breathy, but just a lot of air.
Nice. And I can see that. And that's good. And that's good if you know how to wrangle it in and use it, and it being your voice and you having that Rode, you've probably done that experimenting a lot.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Any unique challenges? Like if you have the NT1 and the Scarlett, what makes you looking at some new stuff? What are you trying to overcome, or what do you want kind of different in the setup?
So I live in a flight path. So I get a lot of air traffic over, and since I'm in an apartment, I don't have the ability to like fully soundproof my room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably one of the major ones. And then just generally finding the right recording level. I have found it a lot where the gain is very sensitive on mine, where I will tweak it just a tiny bit and all of a sudden I'm peaking or way too low.
Gotcha. And if y'all hear clickety clack, that's me just writing notes because, man, that's as a consultant, I also don't want to have people have to repeat themselves. So as we're doing things, that's always the clickety clack thing. So Emily, you're like you said, that unique challenge is the flight path. That's super unique. I kind of deal with some of that myself here in LA. You have lots of air traffic. And like you said, that kind of gain thing, is that on the road
On the
or
Scarlett. On the
Okay.
Scarlett, yeah.
So the gain thing, you're like, you can't get to that nice fine level.
Yeah, I find like if I want to get that good richness to my voice, I have to turn it up fairly high, and then I get worried about peaking and
And airplanes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the airplanes.
Okay. This is a great example because, man, who's all gone through this before? Myself in LA all the time. Everybody's shaking their heads.
And I'm
So-
in NoHo, so we probably have similar.
Oh, nice.
North
Okay,
Hollywood,
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, you're in the Burbank flight path then, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yep. Real world stuff. We have to deal with it. There's a couple cool things. I will first ask, and this is what I do just so I know where I'm going. Roughly, Emily, what's your budget? If you don't want to, you don't have to disclose your real budget, but if you do want to, let me know and we can see what's up and we'll take some stuff offline too.
Yeah, I mean, so full setup, preamp and mic, everything would probably be around 1,000.
Cool. Again, we can work with any budget. So any number somebody throws at me, I'm going to say cool. If somebody throws at me $50 and be like, hey, get something, get maybe a blue microphone. Their USB mics are actually pretty decent. So get a snowball, whatever. $1,000, we can definitely work with that. The first thing I would kind of talk about with your setup here, there's two things, obviously the airplane noise and the Scarlett with the gain thing. So I'd say, hey, let's get a microphone that maybe, or let's get an interface where we can have some really nice gain structure on there. With your budget being 1,000, I'm not going to necessarily go universal audio because that's expensive in the first place. Maybe rock something like an Apogee Duet. That is something that's a really nice, clean, clear interface. Am I sharing my screen? Because I'll just get on the... This is the Apogee Duet. Again, this company is the same company that made that USB mic I was talking about. You can see it's a nice, tiny little interface. It's about the size of, I don't know, a larger hard drive from back in the day. It does have these breakout cables, so that's kind of a cool thing. You can put 2 microphones in there. You can put monitors in there. You could use outboard with it if you wanted to. Comes in a nice little travel case. So if you're doing stuff in your apartment or you got to go and you got to pick up quick, you can do that with this interface. I'm just seeing if there's a picture of the dock. There it is. It comes with this cool dock. So Emily, the cool thing with this, if you need to go places and do recordings remotely, or you just want to do some voiceovers in like a hotel or an Airbnb or whatnot, you can have this dock stay on your desk. And all your cables are attached to that. When you're ready to take off, let's say you're going to go on a plane somewhere, you take the Duet out of that dock, and then you keep the breakout cables in that bag. So you just literally put the Duet in the bag and you go. And the reason I'm recommending the Duet, it's super clean and quiet. Your gain on there is definitely going to be very, very precise. So you won't get those big gain jumps, and you won't have to kind of be in that hard place of, oh, that's too much airplane and too much voice, or oh, it's too soft and now I have to like shout, to really get into the mic there. So that's kind of the first thing that I would say is a big deal. And then again with microphones, you and I might have a more deep conversation where I'd ask you, hey, do you want to try something like the Hype mic, or do you want to do the Duet 3? and maybe we just do that with your microphone first. Because the nice thing about Emily being here, she could come in and do a mic demo, so we can actually talk about different things and just see what microphones sound good on your voice, and then we can kind of match with the duet. And I'd actually offer you, Emily, to bring in your Rode so that way we could connect it and then just hear it with different microphones and just kind of play around with your voice a little bit, see what sounds best. So it's a very unique challenge. There's one more thing that this is kind of extra credit. This is way above and beyond, but I'm just going to throw this out to you all. And this is amazing for Emily's unique challenge with the airport. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is a cool thing from Rupert Neve called the primary source enhancer. What the heck does this thing do? If y'all have ever used the RX software or something that basically takes the background noise out or does something like that where it will take extraneous noises out, this does the same thing but in hardware form. So I've used this at home and it's been a godsend where maybe there's like water running from somewhere or my apartment neighbor has a TV on. I can just basically turn up the threshold button and put this other dial wherever I want it, and it'll actually just automatically take all the extraneous noise out of my voice. But the thing this is dialed in for is the human voice. So they use it live all the time to reject feedback, but this is actually something that it'll still make your voice sound really natural, but you won't get planes or other noise or anything coming out. Emily and I will take this part offline because there's some other stuff that is involved with this, and I would talk more about, hey, would we fit this in your budget? Is this something that you think would be cool? I'd give you a demo of it as well. And you being local, I'd just say, hey, take this for a couple days and bring it back to me, and or we could record with it in the showroom. But that's something that'd be super unique for you. Otherwise, we'd look at a software like RX, and I would say, hey, let's get you RX, and I'd maybe just show you how to do the background denoise, and then that way that kind of takes care of the plane issues, the flight path. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there anyone who doesn't have their mic yet, or is like looking for a first time mic? Because that might be an interesting other problem. Like we have someone who's found something and a place to start. And then anyone who is in that situation that has not.
Evan?
Yeah, Evan. So
Hi.
What's up, Evan?
I'm all right. I should just say up front that I am like literally just starting out in this endeavor. So I don't know if you can hear me well, but I'm currently using my dad's blue snow. Is it called the Snowball?
Yeah. Yep. Nice.
And I know that feedback that I've gotten from other people that I've taken webinars from say that this isn't really the best microphone to be using for this type of work. So I guess my question is, what would be a good microphone to invest in for something that where portability may be necessary because I may or may not be moving within a year?
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Awesome. And I'll do the same thing just because we're kind of talking about voice and synergy too.
Yeah.
Even though you're new to it, which is totally cool, I love the perspective of that. Like I can very easily put myself back into the time where I was just brand new to voiceover and everything. So it's an awesome place to be, and I'm excited for the journey you're going to have. It's going to be amazing. How would you describe your voice, even if you haven't recorded it a bunch, just in general? Give us a couple things.
Sorry. My voice is sort of like dry at the moment because I haven't had anything to drink in a while.
No worries.
I would say that my voice is like deep, and I guess some people have described it as warm. I mentioned before someone at my cousin's wedding when I read for them said that I sounded like a Barry Manilow record.
Right.
That's like the best, like that's the biggest comparison point someone has given me in terms of like what my voice sounds like.
Nice. And then let me ask you this, good follow-up. And I like your adjectives too. And you know, we've all been there, dry, no water. That's a huge thing to have with you is water at all times.
Yeah.
And in the booth, we'll all know that we've been there where our voice just doesn't sound the same. So no worries. Let's do it. But I like what you said, warm, kind of the Barry Manilow thing. And then here's my question to you too, since you're new to voiceover,
Sure.
and you know, we can all move in stages. We don't have to get all of our equipment right away. For your stuff, Evan, do you want to record in a software? Do you want to make things as easy as possible? Tell me kind of your ideal workflow. Like, do you want to just be able to press record and then kind of be done with it? Tell me about if you want to get into more like actually recording yourself with like a DAW, or if you're like, hey, I'm just getting started. Like if I can just, the least I can do and just hear my voice, the better, and get a good sound.
I do want a good sound, but I think what's really important for me right now is because my budget isn't exactly the best right now because I'm in the middle of looking for employment. I think what I'm really looking for is like a good like sound dampening.
Yeah.
Just because the closest thing I have to like a recording booth is my closet.
Yeah.
So
Can you have you recorded in the closet yet? Does it sound
I have
good
not
in
tried
there?
recording in the closet yet. I need to like make space for like to set up the microphone in there. I also don't yet have like a sound suppression stuff on the walls, like a blanket.
Hmm. Is it kind of just bare right now? Like there's no clothes or anything in there?
No, there is clothes and there's like a large a large den.
Okay, sweet. I mean, I'll tell you, you've got a good starting point there. I agree with you. I think closet is a good thing to check out. By the way, where are you located, Evan?
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey, sweet. So this is a great consultation because I can't have you come to the showroom and do a bunch of stuff with you and that sort of thing. So if we're in this situation, there's a lot of great stuff we can do. I would say, you know, definitely clean out the closet, like you said, make space for something, get clothes and anything else you need. You don't necessarily need acoustic stuff. You know, just put some boxes up there or just kind of fill up the closet a little bit so there's not a bunch of empty space. That's kind of number one. But I would say with that, here's kind of my recommendation. I'm going to share my screen again here. Let me get back to this guy. You know, we talked about the 𝗨𝗃, but there's another version that 𝗏𝗏𝗃 makes that's called the Mic Plus. This is kind of what I'd recommend to start out with. Or even if we just don't go that far, like maybe we get a microphone that plugs right into your phone, like a clip mic or something like that. But this would be what I'd recommend because you're not breaking the bank right away. This is you mentioned portability. So this is kind of the same thing we saw with the other microphone, that it fits in that small little case. You can kind of take this around to different areas and kind of see what works best for you. There's none of the fancy stuff like that little compressor in there, which honestly, you don't need to fiddle with right now anyway. You should be focusing on just getting a great sound yourself. But this is one option where if you don't want to get into an audio interface and a preamp and a microphone and all this other stuff, this is like a nice, again, travel solution. If you're in a smaller closet, you don't need a large footprint for this thing. And the sound quality is basically the same as the 𝗨𝗃. It just doesn't have that compression option. So that's a really great one to go with. You've already got the blue snowball there, so I would say this would be a great next step up. And in this case, would work great in your situation with your voice being, you know, like you said, kind of more warm, Barry Manilow. With it being a condenser, it's also going to pick up a lot of good, low tones in your voice and that warmth. And this would be something, again, you can just try it. You're not on the hook, but I'd ship this out to you, and then I'd say, hey, try this for 30 days. Send me a recording of that snowball in that space. Send me a recording of the Mic Plus in that space. And then we just kind of keep the conversation going. And again, you'd use me as that resource, so that way I kind of take the time out of all of this kind of guessing game and stuff. We can really hone down stuff very easily. So that'd be our game plan is, hey, you clean out that closet. Let's get the empty space out of there. Put some clothes, put some boxes in. Let's ship you this mic, see how you like that. And of course, I'd have you just maybe record something for me on that snowball first so I can hear it back. And you could actually record that in a couple different rooms if you wanted just my opinion on, hey, what sounds the best there. So again, everybody, just so you know, any budget, any situation, that's what we do. We consult with people. Voiceover is a big thing, but also studios. So that's what we're here for.
It's great. It's great having an audio like what you need, and everything available too. It's great. Well, this has been really helpful, Matt, and hopefully everyone's getting a lot out of it. Kelsey, why don't we share how to keep in touch with Matt and how to keep in touch with Nick, and then we can open it up to Q&A for the rest of the time and see what questions are on your minds and how else we can help. This has been very useful.
Yes, I'm gonna drop Matt and Nick's contact info down below in the chat, along with all the resources that we've talked about during this call. Also, I would like to share some events with y'all that are coming up and take a cute little picture for socials. So if you would like to figure out like what's next on your VO journey, if you're feeling stuck and you don't know where to go next, you can email our fellow team member Melina at this email I'm going to share, and she can help you kind of figure out where you're going. We will be at VO Atlanta, so if you're going to be there, please let us know, because I want to say hi and see all you people in person and see who's tall and who's really short, which is my favorite thing to guess on Zoom calls. We have also right now going on our spring sale for our Pro Fight Club. We have a buy 3, save $60 deal going on. And our upcoming guests are interactive toys with 𝗨𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's Chuck Wedge. He's awesome. He's been over there for, I don't even know how long, but he's the senior and producer and writer over at 𝗨𝗏𝗏𝗏. Then we also have animation with Emmy-nominated voice director Ashley Nguyen DeWitt. She has done Jessica's Big Little World, worked with Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, everything else. She's incredible. I've seen her work. It is magic. And then we also have promo with ACM Talents Andrew Atkin that's gonna be with us. And then we actually have a live event coming up if you're in the Bay Area. We're basically going to be having a voice acting in the Bay Area. We're going to be talking about like voice acting techniques. There's a Q&A. I'm pretty sure there's headshots as well. And 𝗏𝗃 is going to be there. And it's just kind of showing an intro to voice acting and networking and just seeing who's who in the area kind of thing. I'll share all of that in the chat. And if you've never done Fight Club before, it's a fiercely friendly face-off. It just has a bunch of professional voice actors and you learn specifically how that director works. And honestly, we always go overtime, but in a good way, because the director works with you so in depth to get that read and tell you, okay, this is the read that would get you hired. And honestly, what I love about Fight Club is that they are honest with you. You don't pay $300 and then they're like, that was great. And then you're like, what do you mean that was great? What? No, they're like, yeah, the way you delivered this, it is, they go very in depth. Or they're like, I had a bad lunch. and, and you just happened to be reading when I was thinking about how awful my lunch was. So, that's what's going on. And let's get a quick pick for socials, and then we'll continue on to the Q&A. How's that sound?
Sounds good. And just as we're coming off pictures, there's player spots, demo reps and booking, and spectator spots for Fight Club. So whichever place you're at, we have a place. So yeah, let's come on off and share our mics.
Ready? Oh yeah, here's my AT2020 workhorse.
Yay. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, Vintage King.
Yeah. Cool.
Yippee.
Oh, well, let's open it up to questions. Kelsey, what questions have we
So
got
many.
so far? And if you have more, let's put them in the chat, and then Kelsey will share. We'll have you share them in the room. We want to hear your voice, and yeah, we'll go and answer as many as we can until like 12. And if you need to roll, thank you for being here. Touch base with Matt, touch base with Nick, get in touch with us for a voiceover once over. And yeah, let's jump in.
Alrighty, Mason, if you can come off mute, you can ask your question, or I can ask it for you. I'll give you a awkward 5 seconds of silence to speak up.
Hello, I was going to ask if the interface uses the properties of the microphone and can adapt to the voice.
Mason, great question. If the interface can adapt to the microphone and use the properties of the voice, it definitely can. Just know that the microphone is going to have probably the biggest kind of difference there. But the interface does definitely do a large portion, because with most interfaces, they might be made cheaply, so you're just not going to get, I think the biggest thing that I would say is like detail and that full spectrum range of the voice. Some interfaces might still sound like almost you have a veil over your voice. Or if you guys remember like old TV where it like wasn't HD and you're like, it's a little fuzzy, like that's not how I sound. And then all of a sudden you put on like prescription glasses and you're like, whoa, 4K, that sort of thing. That's kind of the difference that the interfaces can make, along with a lot of stuff that's not great on our workflow. Like we heard from Emily, I believe, who was saying, hey, move this knob a little bit, and then all of a sudden it gives me like a huge change. There's just a lot of that stuff that the interface will really kind of do for your voice. So when you have a great interface, it's very transparent, where it's like you just kind of set it and you forget about it. Like you don't even remember that it's there. And you just, again, the characteristics that we're talking about in your voice kind of comes through. And the biggest thing that I would say the interface does, like when you have the whole kind of chain right and you're just hearing yourself, you either have the feeling of, oh, that's me, and you kind of relax. That's like the best feeling ever. Or you have that other feeling that's like, oh my God, like this is how I've always wanted to sound. And maybe with Emily's setup, that's something that's missing. She might just need that interface might be the other thing. But yes, if I lined up some different interfaces and you talked through each of them, we'd hear maybe not huge differences where it's like, oh, that thing sounds terrible. Technology's gotten so far along that there's nothing that like sounds like absolute garbage, but we'd hear basically more detail. And if you have a warm, deep voice and you're talking into the mic, you'll just hear more texture and everything too. Probably less sibilance as well. So the microphone, the interface, your cables all play a part in how you sound.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Minnie. I'm actually new to the voiceover family. So I do have 2 microphones, but they're the Shure's mic. I wanted to do a podcast some years ago, and so I got 2 of them.
Nice.
Uh, I really don't know how to explain my voice. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's raspy, sometimes it's low. So I really don't know how to explain it, the sound of it right now.
Okay.
And then as far as like microphones, I want something simple to where I can just plug in my phone right now. Um, so yeah, that's where I am right now.
Yeah. I would say with that, I kind of go to the same recommendation that I gave, I think it was Evan, of
Mhm.
that Apogee Mic Plus, just because that to me, and the reason I keep kind of mentioning those with anybody who's kind of just starting out, they literally are plug and play. There's a lightning cable in there, a USB-C, and a USB. So you could take that same microphone, use it to record on your laptop, or record on an iPad, or record on your iPhone, kind of wherever you need to go. It's just a really well thought out system, and the sound on it is amazing. So that would be kind of my recommendation. And sometimes it just depends on what the situation is, with what the recommendations are. Because if there's budgetary things, that's kind of the cool thing of why we're here. We kind of take into account budget, kind of what's your ideal workflow, and like you said, you're like, hey, I maybe don't want to deal with all this stuff right now. I want to concentrate on being the best talent I can. Let me get something that I can just plug into my phone, press record, and get going, and not have to worry about stuff, and kind of make sure the gear takes care of the sound, and that you don't have to do all this extra stuff that takes away your wanting to do things, and doesn't take away your creative flow, because you might be really inspired to do something, and then if there's a technical thing that happens, or something decides to stop working, which happens all the time in audio, that can really be a downer. And so that's really great, Minnie, that you're just like, hey, I really want to just focus on myself and just have something that's super reliable, that sounds good, that I can just press the button and go. Apogee Mic Plus would be my recommendation. And feel free to give me a call or a text or an email. We can take it offline and kind of go a little deeper too, and you can send me some recordings, and we can I can look at some other options for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Anytime.
Who's next, Kels?
Yes. Evan.
Did
Yeah,
I
Evan.
say something? Or is there a different Evan?
It's you. You asked our shotgun mics in the small category.
Yes, yes. And do they count as compression?
Oh, great question. Shotgun mics, they don't have a large diaphragm by any stretch of the imagination, but I would, for this one, I would put it in that large category. I think they're their own category, honestly. They're not like a small diaphragm, because they're very tiny, and they're not a large diaphragm like this U87. And actually, this 416, bear with me on sound. One sec, you're not gonna like this.
All right.
I'm gonna put this. Can you all see? Sorry. Oh, that's great. Can you see these little ridges?
Yeah.
The 416 has something called an interference tube in it. So what it does is, it is a shotgun mic. If y'all didn't see that, it's very long. This is used a lot for just TV and film. They'll have it as a boom mic. But this one has an interference tube where literally if I talk directly into it, it is laser focused on my voice, and rejects sound on the sides. That's what that interference tube does. So it's technically called a low bar pattern when you get really close to it. That's why the promo guys will just talk about 2 inches away from it at a 45-degree angle. So you have a lot of different stuff going on with this one. But that's how I would consider the shotgun mic, is just its own thing. And was there another part to the question, Evan?
No, I asked it because that was one of the mics that was recommended to me.
Yeah,
by
this
the
is,
people.
yes, this is known as the LA voiceover mic. It's used in just tons of studios, ADR stages, like we tried to see in that Hugh Jackman video. So it's used all over here. It's not really the best voiceover mic, but it's in a ton of studios. So again, this is something that you try on your voice and see if you like it. It's very direct and focused.
Great.
All right. So Matt, I have a question for you.
Yes.
That I feel like does not get asked enough. So I must do justice. Um, do you have any advice on mic technique? Like, how far should someone be standing away? Like, what is something that people don't think of when they're using their mic that they should be doing and don't? Like, what are some of the most common hiccups you see with mic technique?
Sure. Well, the first thing with mic technique is just getting comfortable. So being able to see your script and still being centered on your mic is a big thing. So like if I had the script here and my microphone's over here, that's not going to give me a good sound. So that's the first thing, is getting comfortable. And as far as mics go, 1 second. Let me see if I can change this thing without this channel 1 and go over to the U87, or actually the TLM here. 1 sec. Can you all still hear me on this one? Okay, sweet. Okay, so the first thing I would say with a microphone, just being that thumb and forefinger is kind of the first thing, is being that about that distance away. That should be a good starting point. And again, if your voice sounds too far away, come a little bit closer. Now to me, this is kind of more focused. It's getting my voice instead of back here where you kind of get me and the room, and it's a little more echoey. Being up here is a really nice sound to me, and it depends on what you're doing. So the first thing is to listen to the balance of you versus the room, but that usually ends up getting closer to the mic. And again, a huge thing, if there's noise going on, like if you're in an apartment here in LA or somewhere where there's a lot of noise, you want to have your gain kind of down a little bit more and get closer to the microphone, because the microphone's going to focus on your voice and not the other stuff around you. If you have a great sounding booth and you don't need to worry about anything, number 1, I'm jealous. But number 2, turn the gain up and then just experiment. Maybe be 8 inches away from the mic and really hear how it really gets detailed on your voice. So that's a big thing with recording level. A simple thing with the pop filter. This is a huge tip. I see a lot of people just put the pop filter, sorry for the noise, it's on the desk there. If you put the pop filter right in line with the microphone, like this, your P's can go very, very easily through the windscreen and into the microphone's diaphragm and still cause a plosive. So you want to have the pop filter at a different angle than the microphone. So I would also maybe just do something like this. Now you see the pop filter is kind of angled in a little bit. The microphone maybe is straight, and I'd have the pop filter angled. So that way, when I talk into it, I don't have to worry about popping any P's at all. And I always kind of put the pop filter the safest distance away from the mic. Like I don't want to put it close enough where I'd pop any P's. So this is kind of nice where I can get really close and not pop anything. I have a lot of mic technique tips, so sorry if I keep going, but the other thing I would say is if I'm going this close to the microphone, maybe I'm doing something really intimate, reading an audiobook or doing a closer spot or something, I also am not going to speak directly into the microphone, because you'll notice if I speak and say things like seals, there's a lot of sibilance here because I'm talking right into the microphone. If I speak at a 45-degree angle here, speak and talk about seals all day, can you guys hear that there's a lot less sibilance there? So that's a great mic technique tip, is to not talk directly at the capsule because you'll get lots of sibilance. So talk at an angle if you're going close. That's a huge tip. And that just comes around from experimentation. You know, you want to have some headphones on so you can hear yourself talk into the microphone and just kind of hear what sounds most natural, is a big thing, I would say. I think there's one more in there. I can't remember it at the moment, but that's a couple great mic tips. The pop filter thing. One last thing is the height of the mic. Where should the mic be? This will change your voice, and it sounds different on different people. Maybe you want to have the microphone diaphragm, that circular part, right on your mouth. Sometimes that sounds good. If it's a little too boomy, if you're getting too much low end, you could have the diaphragm point right at your nose. So here I have the diaphragm at my nose, And at this mic, it seems a little muffled, so I don't really like this sound, but on other mics, pointing the microphone actually at your nose helps where you're not capturing so much tone and kind of getting this thing going on. So if you have a lot of this, point the mic at your nose instead of your mouth, and just play with microphone height. Literally, just a centimeter or two can make a huge difference. So that's definitely some mic technique stuff. Play with positioning, play with where it is in your room. Don't put it in the dead center of your room. Put it maybe off center. And then that'll give you usually the best acoustics. And again, like we said, the space is a huge thing. So make sure that your space is dead, and that, you'll get a nice focused sound from your recording.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and if you want a master class on like the difference between using mic technique and not, this is going to sound really funny, but the new Sonic movies, they hired none of the original voice actors except for Tails. And you can tell she's a voice actor because she knows how to use the mic. Like she knows, and then everyone else kind of sounds like they're in a room distantly. And like, they don't know how to, they just don't know how to voice act. They know how to act. They don't know how to voice act.
Wow.
But okay, we got a ton of questions chugging right along, if that's all right with y'all.
And
Tish, did you have anything to add?
Thank you for coming too.
No. This is good. Let's see how many more we can get in the next 8 minutes, and then we're all here for you if you have other questions. Matt's available, Nick's available, and we're here to support you in all the ways at the dojo.
Yes, Maria, you had a couple of questions. Come on up.
Yeah, sorry, I have a session in 8 minutes too. Really quickly, you said that there was a pop filter that was used by Disney with the 103. What was the name of that?
Oh, it was a microphone preamp, the Grace Design preamp. So it's a microphone pre. But Maria, for pop filters, and this is a question we get all the time, just know you don't have to spend a lot of money on a pop filter. You can use any sort of pop filter in general. If you want something that doesn't sound so bright and 𝗧y, I would go with a nylon pop filter, one of those, it's just the soft material. If you get a lot of pops, again, put it at an angle of the mic. Maybe you get a double layered one if that's a really huge problem. But in general, pop filters, you put one on there, you just go. But the metal ones tend to be a little bit more bright, if I use that adjective, and the nylon ones are just kind of more natural sounding. So I like nylon. Have it just a couple inches away from the mic and point it at a different direction, and you'll be totally cool. You can use any pop filter you want, and the main thing is just to keep those P's out of there. So don't think about that too much. Use anything you want and use those tips, and then you'll be great to go.
Yeah, I have the Stedman right now, the metal one, so I'm glad you said that because this one sounds like it adds modulation. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, my second quick question is dark mics. I know this is a bright mic. Is it recommended to have a dark mic, if, for different types of voiceovers that you would do? Because I have only the 416, the Sennheiser 416, and then the 103. I don't know if the 416 is considered a dark mic. I don't know what that would be considered. How would you know?
Yeah, the 416 is, I would call it more laser focused. It definitely compresses your voice. So I would call it's a little bit more on the dark side. It honestly depends on how you use it. If you were talking pretty close to it, it can be very bright. So I'd maybe record with that. I wouldn't speak right into the diaphragm of it because then it's going to be really bright. So that might be something that you kind of speak at a 45-degree angle into it, and it'll even be darker. Are you looking for kind of more of a dark sound?
I am. I do a lot of animation, but I've been recently getting cast in a lot of audiobooks and audio dramas. So I want to get something that sounds not as bright and punchy as the Neumann does.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the 416 has been working for the narration part. But when you get down to the grounded characters in it, you don't want to sound cartoony. So I'm just trying to find something that sounds more natural with that part of my voice, if that makes sense, and not emphasizing the youthful part all the time. So
yeah. Email me, because there's another Neumann mic. I think it's like a BCM 705 or something like that. It's their dynamic broadcasting mic that has a pop filter built in.
Cool.
But give me an email or a text, because either that or like an SM7DB might be a thing. But I have a couple suggestions for you. So shoot me an email or a text, and I'd be happy to give some other suggestions for a little bit of a darker sound for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, I have to jump out. I love you guys. Thank you, Tish. Thank you for being here, Matt. Have a great day.
Thanks, Maria. Have a great
Bye-bye.
session.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're just in the last couple of minutes. If you can, we'd love to hear your takeaways, like what we call it a Dojo O. What are you taking with you today? And then let's do one or two more questions if we have time.
All right. Next question from Pamela. Pamela can't speak, so, and I believe she'll be watching the replay, so I'll read it for her. I have an AT2035 and it picks up things I can't even hear. When I went into a studio, they have a TLM103. I could literally hear a ton of racket while recording, yet the playback sounded like it was completely soundproof without any extra sound. Is this due to the quality of the mic or solely due to potential audio chains being built in prior to somehow smoothly editing that out? I thought the more expensive, the more it picks up. Mine is simply too sensitive, picking up things a full mile away, so I'm thinking I need a shotgun instead.
Ooh, that's a great question. She was saying the 2035 picks up too much, and then she used the 103. She thought it picked up even more, but then she heard it back and it sounded great.
Yep.
Okay. That could be a couple different things. If she can hear stuff, if she's saying a mile away, there might be too much gain on the microphone. She might be very close to it and having the level turned up a lot, which will make you hear stuff in the background a lot. So my first recommendation, the tip that I gave before, is just to turn down the level of the mic and get closer to it. That should let it focus more on the voice and less on the stuff that's happening way far away. Just sounds like the gain's too much on that microphone. As far as the 103 picking up a lot of detail and then hearing it back and it's sounding great, you probably have your engineer and lots of post-production to thank for that, because that's what they do. They probably put compression on it. They probably used RX or some other way to take any background noise out and really focus the sound. So there's probably a lot of post-production and stuff that went on with that first. If you can hear stuff in the headphones and then you hear it back and it sounds great, probably some nice processing going on. But big tip for that one, less level on the mic and get closer to it when you're recording at home. That should take care of this too much extraneous noise issue.
Yeah, good. Well, I think that brings us right up to the 12 o'clock hour. Matt, thank you so much for being here and sharing this. I think this, like, hearing what Vintage King does and hearing you be able to speak so clearly about like all the different options, it's relaxing. I think it's something like when we're in the process of going like, what am I supposed to do? Just to have some place where you're asking questions that it'll be the questions will be considered, not like, oh, here, put this on because that's the answer. Like really to have some place where you can really articulate and be asked questions of how do we get something specifically set up for our voice in this space at this point in our careers. So it's great to have you here. Nick, thank you so much too for being here. Nick is part of our ongoing he's one of the senseis on the team that's here to support and guide everybody who's in our programs, and he's also available for studio consultations and outside editing as well. So yeah, thank you all. We should have the replay up in just a little bit, and do feel free to share the link to register, if someone missed it. But if you enjoyed it, we'd love to have you share what you got out of it. And we do this is usually the third Wednesday of the month is Get to Know VO. Next month, we're doing our demo listen derby. So that's always a really great thing if you're working on your demos or revamping your demos. And Ask the Sensei is the first week of the month. So we're always here for you. And thanks for being here with us. And we will see you all very soon. Thanks, Kelsey, for keeping everything going. Really great to see everybody.
Thanks all.
You. Bye, Matt.
Thanks
Bye,
for
Nick.
having me. Thanks all.